In today's video, we're going to be talking about white balance, which I know sounds like a really basic topic of discussion, but this discussion is inspired by the guys who came on the Peak District meetup that we had the other week, where we were doing heather in the Peak District, and the conversation about the colour of heather came up. A lot of what people think about white balance is leading them down the wrong path when it comes to reproducing the colour that they see in front of them out here in the landscape. Now, I see a ton of videos here on YouTube about processing which talks about white balance and using auto white balance in post-processing to get you into the area, to give you a good starting point. 9 times out of 10 in landscape photography, auto white balance is a terrible starting point, and that's because of what white balance is actually doing, what it is programmed to do, whether here in camera or whether in post-processing, and that is to make white. It is very seldom that we actually see white out in the landscape. You see that bright area there. This is actually a lovely golden colour. The sun is just trickling through. It's starting to go down. We're getting late into the afternoon here as we start to head into autumn. And this has got some beautiful kind of semi-golden light on it. Not quite sunset golden, but certainly starting to get there. I want to show you what auto white balance is going to do to that. Let's just take a couple of shots. I'm going to shoot in JPEG so you can see exactly what's coming out of camera as the camera perceives it. This first shot that I'm going to take, I'm going to pop into auto white balance and just set my exposure. What I'm going to do now is just quickly move across to where I think the white balance should be. I'm going to set it manually, and that's going to give me a Kelvin temperature of 6,600. Now, as you can see from these two images, especially here side by side, you'll notice a massive difference in the colour that we're looking at. Auto white balance invariably gets stuff so off. So when we talk about auto white balance being a good starting point, that is generally not going to be the case. If you're wondering why the camera does this or why post-processing software does this, is because when you are dealing with a scene in which the brightest part of your scene is not white, what auto white balance does is it presumes that the brightest part of your scene is the white point. It sets the brightest part of the scene as white, and because in this case it was taking something that was very, very orange and yellow and warm, it cooled it down massively, made the yellows and orange white, and therefore turned everything else that slightly blue colour that we could see in that auto white balance image. And that leads us on to things like heather. Now, I've got no heather around to show you here, so I'm going to use some of the greens that we've got, and I'm also going to show you now what a difference light makes when it comes to colour as well. I've got this leaf here which is in the light, and I've got this leaf here less than a metre away which is in the shadow. I'm going to set my colour balance, my colour temperature based on what I see in front of me. I'm going to shoot this at around 6,000 Kelvin for what I'm seeing on this leaf, and then take those shots. And the same on this one. Just up the brightness slightly. There we go. Now I'm going to set for the colour temperature that I see over here, and that's giving me around 5,300. So if I take that shot and then whiz over this side and take that shot. When we look at the shots side by side, we're going to see there's a big colour difference. That is how much light affects our colour. Colour balance, white balance, and the light that we have will completely change the colours that we see in our images. And a great example is this shot of heather, where I'm waiting for the heather to be in shadow and therefore be a much cooler temperature, allowing me to reproduce the heather as a deep purple. Now it doesn't look like that all the time, which is why in this image the heather looks different, because there's a different type of light hitting it, and that changes the colour reflecting into our camera. And that is the kind of stuff that your camera is always going to get pretty darn wrong, which is another reason why I advocate learning your camera, understand the technicals, and that way you can free your creativity as a photographer. Want to discuss some more stuff like this with me in person? Head via the link in the description below to my website and book on for the next Peak District meetup in October. There are a couple of places left on that as we speak. I've been Dave. This has been Let's Click Photography, and I'll see you guys on the next one pretty damn soon. Bye.